the line of the ball, which is obviously going to work better when it's following you in rather than it's nipping away.
Good insight there from Andy, as always. Here's Anderson, wide of the crease. That one does angle in, and nicely driven by Hansa, but Jofra Archer does a decent bit of fielding, and there is no run. The England players are wearing black armbands in honour of Bob Willis, of course, who left us. R.I.P. Bob Willis. Very sad day, and Sky Sports did a tribute to him before they went on air today.
Did you know him, David? Did you ever?
I did meet him.
Yeah.
And he was a very, very friendly fellow off the camera, as they say. Very friendly and very amiable. Here's very humble. Here's Jimmy, and outside the off stump, that's the one that swings away. But this time, Hans is not tempted. It was just a bit wider.
Yeah, I thought it's been sweet the way, it's kind of what we were talking about. They were all calling him Bobby, all his pals, cheers Bobby, and it sort of gives another side. Okay, everyone knew Bob Willis, the sort of demonic bowler and then the trenchant critic, but then all these nice tributes of sort of referring to Bobby, and sort of just for me who never,
I always felt he kind of, as many pundits do, he kind of backed himself into a persona that he felt he had to live up to.
Indeed, that got a bit of a caricature towards the end, didn't it? And tucked away by a single from Hamza. Spent his end of that over. He spent his last hours with Paul Allott, not the person I'd choose to spend my last hours with. But 21 overs, South Africa 64 for 2.
Well, I've probably better move on. Mog says, let's not forget Aussie superstar Jimmy Mayer. Hendo has come in and pointing and rotating. And
yes.
I gather I'll come out, yeah? Yep. But South Africa are 64 for 2 after 21 overs. England getting a wicket with the very first ball of the innings, and then picking up another one through Sam Curran. And at 30 for 2 they were on top. Now I'd say it's more even, Hendo.
Well, I said at the beginning I was a bit perturbed by this decision to put South Africa in. There may be the thought that they were in a bit of disarray, as Dave called it earlier, and so to get amongst them early on might be a good thing, might lay down a statement, as it were, for the series. But I think Hamza's batted pretty well. Du Plessis on to 10. It's Hamza facing now, just 2 slips in a gully as the bear comes in alongside me on Jingles. In behind this delivery is Hamza as Broad continues into a 6th over, and shifting across the room, it's Rog. Have we talked about your moustache so far?
Before Christmas it was meant, I got some Ned Flanders pushback from Messy Jazz, which
Oh right, you've been wearing this look for a little while.
well, yeah, it doesn't, look at the
Roger's facial hair is always changing.
yeah, I like to mix it up.
It is.
Keep everyone guessing.
It's fun. It is absolutely. Broad in again to Hamza. Hamza's forward in defence. Foolish delivery. Straight back to the bowler. Yeah, 64 for 2. Half an hour to go before lunch. If they get to 80 for 2, then you say that's not bad when you've been put into bat, is it?
No, it's not at all. I think we've had a few chances. A few balls have skewed off the edge and gone over the slips and not carried.
But has it been? It hasn't been good enough to justify putting them in, has it?
No, probably not. But then you look, like Hamza, that shot there, he's playing miles away from his pad.
Broad in again, a little bit back of a length, turning him front on just a shade as he steers into the offside, and there is no run. 64 for 2. Hamza has moved on to 33. Du Plessis has 10.
Well, Messi Jez is coming on the GPL.
Yeah,
he's got 2738393303313 and 323. Messi Jez, he does the threes. So if you want to join him, there's plenty of space in between there, and you can win the pot, which started off at 53 and now be 56 quid for the day. You've got 20 minutes to enter.
Broad trundles in again. This one he turns nicely off his hip as it comes into him. Timed it really well. Bairstow's charged after it, pulls it back, finds that he's got no one accompanying him, has to do all the work himself, gets the throw in flat, and it is a no ball as well. South Africa to move to 66 for 2. It's a tight one.
It is a tight one.
But no ball it is.
Pretty sure there was a bigger one in his previous over, so maybe
That wasn't given.
yeah. So you know how umpires like to redress the balance.
It's Broad again in to Hamza, and Hamza leaves this one outside the off stump. Through to the keeper it goes. Now, on your travels, Rog, have you been to Centurion? Have you been to Pretoria?
No, I've never been to South Africa.
Ah, right, okay.
No, I had Katie Walker desperately trying to convince me to go out for this one, but I couldn't justify. She'll be in Cape Town, our old friend Katie.
Indeed.
I do have some pals, my pal Gareth Griffiths, who occasionally tunes in, my crazy Welsh friend who lives in Cyprus. He's there enjoying it, enjoying the grass banks. And then there'll be thousands more Barmies showing up for the big one in Cape Town.
Oh, absolutely.
Billy and his trumpet will be out there.
Ah, excellent. The thing I love about Pretoria is that sort of flyover, just going past the behind the glorious grass bank, driven beautifully by Hamza. He did get his foot right to the pitch of that one, and he steers it away through extra cover for a very pleasant four. Oh, the other thing I saw was Dutch Bird Kate seems to be going out. I mean, she goes everywhere, doesn't she?
Yeah,
But,
she does go
but what amazes me is she seems to fly in, you know, a long flight. I mean, it's still quite a long flight to South Africa. It's about
13
12 or 13 hours. It's something like 27 hours to New Zealand. It seems like she pretty much gets off the plane and goes straight to the ground. How does she do it?
Yeah, we saw it. I was on the same flight as her to New Zealand.
That's right.
To Auckland, and yeah, we.
Oh, edged it and caught low down. Broad has a wicket. Hamza goes. Ben Stoke clutches on, and South Africa have lost their third wicket. So maybe it wasn't such a bad decision to put them in. That's so annoying as a batsman. You just played this glorious shot through extra cover, and you're just sort of preening and enjoying it, get that lovely warm flow of, I don't know what it is, adrenaline going through you, and then suddenly you find yourself on the way back to the pavilion.
Well, I was just about to tell you his first class average is 50.65.
Well, that has been mentioned 3 times already this morning, Bear.
Oh, has it? Well,
Yeah. I did mention it. Then Knuckle came in
Tweeted
on the
in.
act, yep. And
they're checking for a no ball, but it wasn't a no ball.
oh, let's please. You're right though. He does get horribly turned around a little bit there, doesn't he? He's sort of.
He plays away from his body.
He may be one of those guys who found out pretty quickly. You're right. He's sort of almost edging back towards his leg stump and fishing for it in the end.
Well, his trigger movement seems to be unlike everyone else. His trigger movement seems to be his foot edges out slightly
Towards
leg,
square leg. Yeah.
which says he's scared.
Well,
Are you scared?
I did say he looked a bit reluctant when he had to come in second ball of the game.
Yeah.
He'd rather sort of thought he might have a bit more time to settle down and have a cup of coffee or something. But there you go. Any tweets?
Yes, Mog says we're talking about Jimmy's. He says let's not forget Aussie superstar Jimmy Marr. Do you remember him? He was a Queensland opener. Did he might have
don't
played it.
remember
He
Jimmy
might have played a
Marr.
test
Never heard of him.
here and there.
That doesn't surprise me, Bear.
But I think he was a left-hander. We could maybe get a Jimmy XI by the sounds of things. We're up to about 6 or 7, I'm sure. I might get to work on that. Tim Everingham says, "Morning, Gorilla. Thank you for the Boxing Day company as I clean my Parisian apartment. Ooh la la. And return to Australia on Saturday. You're helping cure my lack of cricket here.
Oh, good.
Can I ask what the pitch is like? You can.
Well, we said mottled, but it seems to be. I mean, there is a little bit. Certainly seems to be some seam movement, but also it does seem to be coming on to the back quite nicely. Certainly early on. There were a couple of nothing more than defensive pushes by Markram and Hamza that just sped away through mid-on for 4. Anyway, Rassie van der Dusen has come to the crease. He's got a jingle that goes like this. Du Plessis facing up to Anderson, and he pushes firmly, a foolish delivery, square on the offside. There is the horribly maligned Joe Denley. Fred was laying into him this morning. We thought he must be a Dawid Malan fan, and he was upset to see Denley doing quite well.
Yeah, I like Denley.
I quite like Denley. I think he's done everything that's been asked of him, and he's a battler, isn't he?
Yeah, he's better than Milan.
Well, he's certainly not outside the 15 best players in county cricket, I wouldn't have said. Anderson finds this one moving in to Duplessis, who felt for it a little bit, but has got a thick outside edge, which has gone between second slip and gully, and down to the third man boundary for one of these. Yeah, it looks as if he was actually almost trying to leave it at the last minute there. Didn't quite snatch the bat out of the way of it, possibly just as well.
I think Anderson and Broad have come back well, haven't they? As soon as and it serves us right. Anytime we kind of doubt their worth, they prove their class.
Indeed, this again, he's getting this in-swinger to go a little bit. He didn't really use it early on this morning, but he just seems to be encouraging it to come into Duplessis. Defends this one into the offside. And there is no run. 75 for 3. Duplessis on 14. Van der Dussen has just come to the crease, making his debut in Test cricket, although we have seen him play ODI cricket, and of course he was in that World Cup squad. Not one that covered itself in glory from South Africa last summer.
Yeah, although he did pretty well.
He did well,
yeah.
Yep, he did very well.
Impressed me.
Yep. It's Anderson comes in again, bowls. That one just held its line. It maybe just drifted away ever so slightly, and this time Duplessis was looking at the possibility of driving and then just decided to let it go at the last minute, which was probably wise. There was a little bit of a grin from bowler to batsman, as if he'd both aware of what was going on out there. Yeah, he did well, didn't he? He got a 90 odd. Was it against New Zealand or Australia? I can't remember.
Got some
now.
runs against England in the first one, didn't he? It was sort of their last hope as they gamely tried to chase down England's total.
No, he looked quite impressive. Anderson in again, bowls on the line of off stump and right forward, holding the pose. Duplessis, ball runs into the covers, and there is no run. Have we said hello to people on Crick Tracker today?
Hello,
we had a
Crick Tracker.
big audience earlier on, I noticed. Also quite a good audience on YouTube, which is all well and good. I mean, like, let's face it, we are now the premier channel covering this match, I would say.
Absolutely.
If you do happen to want to listen to Matt Pryor, then
And Goffey.
Harmy. Harmy. This one just swings ever so slightly away, left alone by Duplessis through the keeper. There is no run. At the end of the over, it is 75 for 3. More tweets.
L'Expert at The Good Expert says, don't forget Jimmy Cook, youngsters. Another good opening batsman, Jimmy Cook. And what happened to his son? Do you remember
He played in the last tour, didn't he? The last England tour out there. He was opening the batting, wasn't he?
What was his name? Simon Cook.
Simon.
Yeah.
Was it Simon
Stephen
or
Stephen
Steve?
Cook.
Steve.
Yeah. He seems to have disappeared.
Yeah, he's
from
disappeared.
And Linux Lay says that stash needs more wax and upturned tips, Kaiser style.
You going to work on that? That's good.
Possibly. Yeah. James Humberstone, evening greetings from 35-degree Canberra, shrouded in bushfire smoke.
Oh, gee.
Finally got the kids down. Time to listen to you guys for a few hours. Hello, James.
Hello, James.
I did actually. You may have remember that when Messi Jez comes on, I always ask him for the sort of fire risk, rather jokingly. But of course, it's not a joke at the
It's
moment.
not a joke.
It's
Jesus, the
absolutely
whole fucking
dreadful.
country's burning, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's crazy.
Meanwhile, they've got a prime minister who goes, "Nah, there's nothing wrong with climate change,"
And then buggers off to Hawaii. Broad into Markram, who's not Markram, is it? It's Van der Dussen. What am I talking about? He's
Markham
gone.
was out a long time ago.
Defended back to Broad, and there is no run. Broad is now into his 7th over. He's got figures of 1 for 18. Got rid of Hamza in his last over. And so it's looking a little bit better for England, having put South Africa into bat. But what a glorious day it is there. We discussed earlier that it was 45% humidity, which isn't high. Broad in again, full. Checked drive from Van der Dussen up to mid-off. And again, there is no run.
Need to get this man out, Quinton de Kock out, and then I think you're kind of through.
Well, he's down to Philander, but if you remember, Philander
has been a pain in the arse.
well, he got a couple of 50s on the last tour of England, didn't
Yeah.
he? And batted probably better than he bowled. And
It's his
batted-
last series,
It's
isn't
his
it?
last series. It's a shame actually, because he's got a fantastic average. I think it's 22. He's not going to go on longer, but he is, I think, 34, 35 now. Defended straighter ball from Broad, trying to bowl the leg colour there, didn't really get any purchase, and man comes in from mid wicket to field.
Mog said, "Do you know what I find frustrating about you guys? Disrespectful even. No coverage of the world's greatest blue water yacht racing classic, the Sydney to Hobart."
Well. I mean, it's
Didn't even know what's going on.
It's awkward hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's awkward hours to do sailing.
Comanche is my pick in
Is
that
your
one.
pick?
Yeah. Look,
Of course,
Comanche will come good.
there's normally sort of a few disasters in that race, aren't there? Outside the off-stump, he went wide on the crease this time, Broad, but didn't bring it back enough for Van der Dussen to have to play.
Isn't it a dangerous stretch of water?
Pretty dangerous. Do they go down the Southern Ocean? Don't they? The Southern Ocean's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
I've been in the Southern Ocean.
Have you?
I went in an enormous inflatable speedboat. That's amazing. If you go, it's in. Have you done that?
No.
Oh, you can do it in Tasmania. You can go on this trip. I think it's a place called Kettering, and you go on this, and they take you out, and then suddenly they do this thing where they literally tip the speedboat onto its side to go between rocks at incredible speed. Amazingly exciting, but also pretty scary.
Terrifying.
Yeah, left alone outside the off-start by Van der Dussen, and then goes down the pitch to have a little bit of a prod.
Whilst all the great white sharks are following behind you in case it tips over you.
Do you know, it's funny, funny you should say that. I didn't actually think about the sharks. I mean, it's freezing cold. Well, I say freezing. I mean, freezing for Australia. It was probably about 15 degrees or 16 degrees when I went. But I didn't know they were going to do that. I didn't know they were going to tip it on its side and take it between rocks. But, I mean, the margin for error, it's very tiny. Very tiny indeed. Broad in again, down the leg side, and flicked nicely by Van der Dussen. He leant into that, and he's
No one out there.
creamed it really, timed it beautifully. That wasn't a good ball. It's 4 runs.
In the name of God.
13th boundary of the innings, 79 for 3.
We just got quite a racy tweet from Bob Jim Bob.
Racy.
Yeah, and I looked at his account, and I think maybe the less it just said "hey," but
Oh.
as I looked, I think Bob Jim Bob was trying to solicit some
I don't know who
action
was
out
trying
of,
to solicit.
out of us gents.
Oh,
Put
I
it
don't-
that- yeah.
ooh,
But sorry, Bob Jim Bob, you are blocked because we're not that kind of show. As much as
Well,
Bear was talking about his wish to get the cock out.
Yay.
The next layer says England will horribly collapse, horribly crashing out for less than 50, with only Denley getting to double figures, again proving he should be captain. Mark my words.
yeah, you could be right. No, I saw Arthur Shear was tweeting earlier about we were sort of slating Dominic Sibley ever so slightly earlier, and it was saying, just because he hasn't got a great his technique doesn't look brilliant. It's not so much that he's an ugly batsman. It's just I'm not. It's his stance that worries
Well,
me.
yeah, totally. Me too. It's very open, isn't it?
And it's almost as if he can't play through the offside. so
Well, that was the problem with Wesley and some others too. It's
Change of bowling. Archer's back into the attack, and he's in on the power. That's worth
Gotta
a
be
shot.
out.
Might just be a little bit high. Really? Well, I would think they would have a little look at that, wouldn't they? It's been given not out. Are they going to review it? 9 seconds, 8 seconds, 7 seconds. You're going to have to make it quick, Joe Root. I don't think he is going to. No, he has a little word with Rory Burns, and
Ooh.
not sure why Rory Burns is involved because he's at Gully. I won't really have been able
well
to see
for
it that
height
good.
maybe.
For height. It was a darn good ball. He's gone deep in his crease. Ooh,
Yeah,
height.
too high. Yeah,
height.
too
It's
high.
ended up
I
hitting back leg, but
Back thigh,
but quite
yeah.
high. Yeah. I mean, those ones could just clip. It's the kind of thing that if it's been
thought given out.
given out and the batsman reviews it, you think, well, it might just be clipping. But
Quite a bouncy pitch though.
yeah,
Well, this man's bowling. Let's give him another jingle because I quite like his new one. Describe.
defended. Well, I say defended. Hit on the pad again as he tried to play this into the onside. Well,
In the nads.
he took, well, not so much. I was going to say it took him on the inside part of the thigh where there wasn't thigh pad, so that probably did hurt a little bit. A little rasp, just a shade.
Seems to be enjoying the wicket though, isn't it? I mean, I think he got a bit depressed in
New Zealand,
because
yes.
The pitches were so slow, but there's a bit of bounce and pace here.
But that's not a good ball. That's down the leg side, way down the leg side, and Duplessis leaves it alone. Yeah, and only picked up 2 wickets on that tour. In that,
Well, he should have had 3. So
well,
the worst
Yeah.
drop you'll ever see.
yes, that's true. But it was quite interesting. His average went down from 24 to 27 in that one tour.
Well,
So he's got a bit to do, hasn't he? I mean, I still think he's a class bowler. I don't think that
well,
really...
he's only played 5 tests. Hasn't he?
Yeah. 6, I think it is now.
So it's going to fluctuate massively, isn't it? You know, if he gets a whole stack of wickets here, it'll go down again.
He's in again, bowls right up there, and comes off a thick inside edge as du Plessis comes forward. As Bairstow is the man who's fulfilling that role at short leg, does the fielding.
We have a new first-time listener
Yes.
in Brighton. It's Miza Tyke.
Hello.
And Miza Tyke, you sound like our kind of person. They love their profile. Love cricket, wonderful tasting beer, heavy metal music, and Barnsley FC.
Well, up to the point when you said Barnsley FC. Although they're beginning to come good this season, aren't they? After a tricky opening period, onto the back foot goes du Plessis, plays it up to mid-off. There is no run up to 139 Ks. That from Jofra Archer.
And Miza Tyke says, first-time listener in Brighton, desperately trying to find ball by ball, as no TMS. So pleased I found you.
We are ball by ball. That is what we do, amongst many other things like play you jingles and read out your tweets and I don't know what else do we eat pastries. What else do we drink? A lot of beer. The bear hasn't actually started yet, but I don't know what it'll be like by 3 o'clock. Ducking under this one, du Plessis, and comfortably goes through to Butler. Were you on the beer yesterday, Bear?
Yeah, started drinking at about 11 o'clock in the morning.
Did you get any sort of whiskey as a present?
Yeah, I got 3 bottles of whiskey.
3 bottles of whiskey. That might last until about
I
2
got
o'clock.
3
today.
bottles of whiskey and a drawing tablet that I can hook into Photoshop. It should be quite entertaining.
Ooh, sounds complicated.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, for me. Anderson 1 for 24, Broad 1 for 22, Curran 1 for 8. Archer is the man who is wicketless at the moment. He's bowled 5 overs, he's gone for 25 runs, probably bowled a little bit better than that would suggest. The wickets went down at 0, 32 and 71.
James Hummerstone back with it. Yes, having put your election special behind you, feel free to get stuck into the fuck knuckle we call PM.
But it's happening everywhere around the world, isn't it? It's like, it's can we find you a really, really awful candidate, and then why don't you all vote for him, which seems to be happening. Outside the off stump, Broad continuing, and left alone by Van der Dussen. Through the keeper it goes.
Although the talk of Belfast over Christmas was the Arlene Foster news. Have you seen those?
Oh, don't say it.
Oh, I know.
Don't say
Of
it.
course I won't.
Good, I'm glad to
I
see that.
wouldn't.
The only
But
thing I know about that was
just-
I just saw that
Tell me off air.
Christian Janssen, the TV doctor, might be sued for slander.
Tweeting it,
Yeah, for tweeting about it.
Well,
But,
just-
so yeah, tell me off air. I don't know what the actual story was. I'm sure it'll be entertaining if it's got Arlene Foster involved. Broad striding in, bowls. This one keeps a little bit lower as Van der Dussen goes onto the back foot, defends up to mid-off. And there is no run.
Yeah, just that's Arlene Foster. If you all want to Google her out there, Arlene, leader of the Democratic Unionist Party, and feel free to Google forth.
Yeah,
Not say
she
no more.
was. I mean, the only good thing about Boris Johnson is that he annoyed her. That's the only thing that he's done that's been of any use at all. We do politics, of course, as well on this show. There you go. We had an election special. If you didn't listen in, here comes Broad, bowls onto the front foot goes Van der Dussen. And Van der Dussen has this habit now. He pushes up to mid off and he sort of strolls down the wicket as if to say, I really should have a run there, but you're probably not going to respond to me, are you, Faff? So anyway, he remains on 4. Du Plessis on 14, 79 for 3.
Mog says, didn't they warn you to bring spare underwear on this boat thing, Hendo?
Well, no, funnily enough, they didn't. Although there was a boy who was sick. Fortunately, the wind was going behind him and I was in front of him. So that helped me, maybe not some others. Broad, wide on the crease, full, and shovelled almost up to mid-on by Van der Dussen. He looks quite confident in himself, doesn't he? He sort of holds himself well. His body language is good. So he's a little bit like Labuschagne in a way, who again got runs, didn't he, last night?
Dogged, another dogged.
Dogged,
Batted
yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah. I'm glad I actually went to sleep in the end because Steve Smith batted and got 67 or so
Oh,
in the end.
yeah.
Well, you know what? He hasn't got a fucking ton though since he's left Arsenal.
I know, it's
has he?
bloody typical, isn't it? Absolutely
Scored a
typical.
fucking shitload against us, and they can't score any against anyone else. Typical, bloody typical.
That's the other thing, if you're the first time listener, the bear sometimes swears.
Quite often, actually. And it gets worse as the booze goes.
Well, yeah,
we
there
are
is
on
that.
an early morning series, so the booze won't start till after lunch.
Not quite so bad. Not quite
Yeah.
so bad.
And you should know about us that we came up with a term for this new fielder that's just gone into place.
Oh, indeed. Nicely defended.
Just to him.
To that man.
Yeah.
Who is that? Would you like to describe?
Well, we described as an on Hayden.
An
on
on Hayden.
As-
Do you want to describe why he's an on Hayden?
I suppose because England placed a man at sort of quite silly mid-on in the
A deep
2000
silly mid-on,
deep
yeah.
silly mid-on, yeah, in 2005 to get in Hayden's eye line. And I remember Matthew Hoggard knocking him over first
Indeed.
ball, and then
Yeah.
he was caught there once as well.
He
wasn't
was
he?
caught. Well, he was caught there the first time they put him there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He drove it because what they reckon is he drove on the up a little bit, and it travelled a bit in the air.
Defended a ball just outside the line of off stump to extra cover. Positionally, he's actually very irritating for the non-striker because he's basically in front of the non-striker where he wants to run. And if you are the non-striker, that is very, very irritating. That's the end of the over. 79.
It's a lunch.
It's the end of the
It's
session.
lunch. It's the end of the session. It's time for me to go. I've got to go and do a day's work. Would you believe it? I've also got to look after Grubby's cat. So there's lots of things to be done. But it's been a quite good morning. 79 for 3. England put South Africa into bat. That we were a little bit surprised by that. They went in with an all-seam attack. South Africa gave debuts to 2 of the 6 new men who were named in their squad in Rassie van der Dussen and also Dwayne Pretorius. 26 overs bowled in the morning session, 79 runs, 3 wickets. First ball of the day, would you believe? Jimmy Anderson back into Test cricket after a 5-month break. Down the leg side, load of filth, edged by Dean Elgar, the man who's batted or carried his bat 3 times in Test cricket, was gone. First ball of the series, Markram fell to Curran, and then Broad picking up Hamza just a couple of overs ago. 79 for 3, 1 wicket apiece for Anderson, Broad and for Curran. Archie yet to get on the scoreboard. Markram made 20, Hamza 39, Du Plessis on 14, Van der Dussen is on 4. And we'll have a couple more tweets, and then it'll be time for a break. You'll be listening to highlights throughout that.
Yes, not Jim Reed at Ayrshire Brogue says, enjoying the wall-to-wall Boxing Day cricket, spent the day listening to Oz NZ on the ABC, now listening to the dulcet tones of the Gorillas to lull me to sleep. Well, stick with us, Jim, maybe throughout this test match. Or not Jim, even, not Jim Reed.
Not Jim Reed.
Don't confuse him with Jim Reed.
Well, I'll try not to.
Knuckle tells us Faf does get hit in the Nutbush city limits a lot, so much so he commissioned his own triple-strength box, named the Beast.
Beast. You wouldn't want your box to be called the Beast, but you might want what's it inside the box to be called the Beast.
Which,
I don't know.
yeah, and then Adam at Adam CF replies to that, the ultimate cock blocker.
Indeed.
And Mog asks, did you ever play that jingle about the bear and whiskey? Maybe we could do now, Bear. I know you've
I'm
got
sure
something
we did.
lined up.
I think we did. Yes, we did. That was right at the end of the New Zealand series, wasn't it? Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, of course we did. I don't think anyone was listening at the time because it was it'd been rained off by that point. But we'll maybe dig it out later when he has when he's gone through a couple of fingers of one of his bottles.
So there's a couple more here. Just before, Gareth Stevens at Save Me Some Salad says no TMS coverage, so give these guys a go. They're excellent, and he retweets us. Thanks,
Oh,
Gareth.
that's very nice.
And another one, the Duke of Umbridge at Live from Gates of Hell
Duke of Umbridge.
at Ice twice, all capitals.
Oh, brilliant.
It says, dear, and he addresses us. You'd like to see that in a tweet.
Do what?
Dear at Gorilla Cricket.
Oh, that's wonderful.
The Duchess and I are very pleased to have discovered your refreshing approach to ball-by-ball commentary. And we're delighted to say that the underfootman has managed to find a way for us to listen to it in the Bentley as we potter around the estate.
Nice.
Well, it's always good to find some royals that've got, who've got
absolutely.
good taste, isn't it, basically? And don't go off with strange characters from America. Anyway, that's is that it?
Yeah,
Yes,
that is
that's
it.
it. Well, it's great to hear from the Duke of Umbridge and also Save Our Cellar. Those are 2 of my favourite tweet handles already. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll leave you in the safe hands of the Bear, Rog, Andy, Fred and Dave Brooke. And until then, well, we'll be back in about 35 minutes.
We will, and in the lunchtime we're gonna pay you our podcast that we did for our South Africa versus England preview to see how correct we were about all sorts of things. And here it is. We'll see you in 35 minutes.
Good morning, good afternoon, good dawn, good dusk, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Gorilla Cricket South Africa Series preview. There are many and varied podcasts you can listen to these days on Gorilla Cricket. This is the one especially for a 4-match series that is coming up starting next week. I'm Gorilla Hendo, and with me to discuss what's been going on in the cricket world, and particularly around England and South Africa, are The Bear.
Hello.
Hello. Tony Bishop 1.
Hello, hello.
And all the way from a sunny South Africa, it's Mpo, your friendly sports guy. Hello.
Hello, guys. How's it?
Well, it's miserable here, as we were just saying to off air, but things can only get better, surely. Now let's have a look at this series. I mean, for me, a South Africa series is something that I really look forward to, especially an away one, because I always feel if England do well, it's a good sort of barometer of how England are. But England haven't been doing that well in New Zealand. But these are two teams in transition, Mpo, aren't they? I mean, how are you viewing this, to just looking ahead to next week? You know, especially in light of what's been going on out there.
Yeah, well, in light of what's been going on, it looks as though we are on a hiding to nothing.
Oh.
That's how the sentiment has been throughout the past couple of months, especially after India.
Mm-hmm.
We always enjoy an English summer. Well, a summer where England come down. Because obviously the Barmy Army, there's banter, and we kind of figure out where, as you all rightly mentioned, it's a yardstick as to where the team is. And England are coming down as world champions, and it would be very nice for us to stick it to the world champions. The only problem for England, I think, is that in the last week, their nemesis, being Graham Smith and Mark Boucher, are now at the helm, and I think now there's probably going to be a very, very competitive summer, and might be a good one for South Africa compared to the sadness we were feeling about 2 weeks ago.
Well, this to me, this is all fake news, isn't it, really? Because basically, you've pretended to get rid of your chief executive or to suspend him. Loads of people have been resigning, and that's just been an excuse to bring two of the most obdurate people, as far as England supporters are concerned, back to face us with sort of about a week's notice. It's a bit like Brexit being done very quickly, isn't it, really? I don't know what the Bear thinks about this. Do you feel like we've been conned a little bit by them getting Graham Smith and Mark Boucher in?
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping actually this time we get the wood over Graham Smith. When South Africa went to India, they got humped, but then everyone gets humped in India. It's just the way it goes. And as series go on, you get worse, and you generally lose the last test worse than you lost the first one. So that's where it goes. I don't exactly know where South Africa are, but they don't sound like they're in a particularly good place.
Well, that's what we thought. But now they've brought in Smith and Boucher.
I don't think that makes any difference to the play.
You don't think it's going to make any difference? What about you, Tony? I mean, do you not just sort of break out in a cold sweat when you see the size of Graham Smith's bat and the size of his shoulders?
Well, I do, but he's not playing.
You might do. You never know.
I think the interesting question for those of us who sit outside of South Africa but have a sort of passionate interest in its welfare is the state of the level of the game beneath Test cricket, because your Test team is founded upon the players that you bring through, and I think the issues in South Africa probably go deeper than who they can rustle up for the Test team. I mean, I'm sure Mpo has more to say than that, but yes, there is the issue of quotas. That takes some managing, doesn't it? To put something right, you have to have a period of almost over-addressing a problem before it swings back and you achieve equilibrium. Obviously, you look at the South African rugby side and you see, well, look at what they've just now done. But I think if you scratch away at the surface of what you see that is going to play against England and look at where are those players coming from and how many players of Test calibre are being sort of forced out of the country to play elsewhere, that I think is where the weakness is. And you can have the best, you can replace your administrative setup, but it's not going to fundamentally address that problem.
Well, let's look at that, Poke. Maybe you can come back to us on this. We were looking at the squad announced yesterday, the South Africa squad, I think it was yesterday, and 6 players who've never played a Test before. But what struck me when I looked through it, although they've got really good figures, actually you look at their averages and some big scores on there if they're batsmen, they're all 29 and 30. Now, is this sort of because there just isn't the talent coming through, or why have these people been ignored up to now? Has South Africa batting or bowling been so strong that these guys haven't been needed before? Is this a kind of panic measure?
Look, I think it's largely that. It's because we've had a period where you've had Jacques Kallis, Smith, Boucher, AB de Villiers sitting in a settled South African lineup for I don't know, 5-6 years. So for instance, as Tony speaks about the Kolpaks and all the guys who were leaving, a lot of the guys who were leaving are guys who were injury replacements or replacements to somebody who was a mainstay in the side. For instance, Duan Olivier was in the side as an injury replacement to Vernon Phelan.
Right.
And Vernon Phelan is back now, so he wasn't going to get a game.
But if you look at the last game at Centurion,
yes, he had a great tour against Pakistan. But if Duan looked down the year, he knew that possibly against England he wouldn't play. And even with a guy like Carl Abbott's role was as the guy who replaces Dale Steyn. But Dale, when Carl took his Kolpak, Dale Carl didn't necessarily know that Dale was going to get injured again. And it's about securing the financial futures of these players, and largely it's because there's not a lot of money in South African cricket. And the allure of playing in the county setup for a lot more than what you get here in South Africa, and for a lot longer. Because the only guys who make the money in SA are the guys who actually play Test cricket for the Proteas. Yes. And onto the guys who were selected. Yes, they're journeymen, and yes, they've done an incredible job, and it's just the system recognizing the best guys who have performed throughout time. We've got young guys coming through the system, and yes, we are bleeding a lot of young guys coming out, but it's very hard from that perspective, especially because as a 19, 20-year-old coming into a system where there's only 6 franchises, it's really hard for them to get a game, because I think 10 or 12 of them might get a franchise, but the rest of them will probably have to go play in the lower leagues in the UK.
So basically, what you're saying about these guys, the Peter Milans, the guys coming into the team, how are they making their living when they're not playing in South Africa? Are they playing league cricket in England?
They as franchise players, yes, you can live an okayish life, but there comes a point where if you're not necessarily in the system, and for you to get a Kolpak, you need a cap, an international cap for South Africa. So there's a lot of guys who know they're good enough to play for South Africa who will wait and sit,
right,
and wait for an opportunity to get that cap and then get the Kolpak, just like necessarily a guy like Duan who received his opportunity and then he got the Kolpak. And a lot of guys, David Visa, Marchant de Lange, they also just had to wait for their cap, whereas some of the guys who have British passports can go straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But here in South Africa, if you are just a normal franchise player, you earn. It's a proper living. It's not the excessive wealth that everyone else sees, and sometimes you might need you essentially need an IPL type of contract to get you over the hump and not necessarily worry about going and playing in the UK, but sometimes you kind of have to, which is why a lot of the players during our off season go play the lower leagues in Lancashire and everywhere else to try see if they can't become that overseas professional for a county side, or just necessarily get a Kolpak once they get the call up for the Proteas.
Yeah, I suppose also, I mean, if you think about all these new guys coming into the team, and you're saying that if they get a test cap, they then sort of become a man who could take the Kolpak shilling, as it were. I mean, that's a big worry in general, isn't it? Because everyone who's coming through is going to take, if they can, take this opportunity.
It is, but with our man Bojo at the helm, closing out Brexit, that's going to obviously be a plus for South Africa if the Kolpak is allowed, it effectively is stopped with the whole relationship with Europe. That will then obviously force a lot of people to try either stick it out here in South Africa and make ends meet here, or try and get a British passport and as an employee of the UK try and play a cricket there. So Brexit is very important for us, but with what's happening in the boardroom, there's no time to be able to fix this. That's the only problem. With all the boardroom shenanigans, we can't necessarily have an answer to this.
So basically what you're saying is that all this talk of Russia and America being involved in British elections is nonsense. It's basically South Africa.
Yes, South African cricket team.
Yeah,
to
I
keep
think that's
our
absolutely.
stars.
They're doing a very good job on that.
Trying to bolt the stable door.
Indeed. Let's move on. The Bears having to do some various things around the room to make sure that we stay on air. But let's look forward to the actual matches and you look at this England team. We look at this England team. We're not incredibly confident about it. We've just seen it struggle a little bit in New Zealand, I think it'd be fair to say. And they're playing their first warm-up match today. I'm going to put this to Tony and the Bear first. We just had a quick look at the scores, and there seemed to be a run of England players getting a few runs and then retiring. Now, I'm wondering whether this is the best policy. Dominic Sibley retired out for 58 today. Joe Root retired out for 72. Now, Joe Root's just coming off a double 100 in a test match. Dominic Sibley hasn't got a run. Why wouldn't you let Dominic Sibley go on and get 100 in that game if he could?
Well, I would have done.
Exactly.
I think it's madness. And the problem is it's a 2-day game, isn't it?
It is, but if he can get 58 and then Joe Root's still got time to come out and get 72, don't you stay with Dominic Sibley and get his confidence high?
Well, you should
58 is not going to get you that much confidence. You might feel that the ball's coming onto the bat reasonably well.
Well, it is also, don't forget, it's a two-day game, so you've got 4 kind of games in total, both at the same ground. Rather strangely.
Well, no, you get 2 innings. You get 2 innings
Not in
and
this
2
game,
bowling.
right? You
Well,
only get 2
no,
innings in
exactly.
this
But
game.
in two